Hi guys, so today we're reviewing a fragrance that I think is one of the most unique smells out there currently, and it's Ganymede from the house of Marc-Antoine Barrois. Very, very glossy face, as you can see. But I really like this bottle presentation. It's very elegant, very clean and sharp, just like the smell. And I love when, the bottle and design captures, the smell of the fragrance. So this is a scent that was composed by Quentin Bisch, and I think, in my opinion, he's one of the most innovative perfumers today. Some of his creations that are among my favorite are Delina and Jean-Paul Gaultier's Le Male Le Parfum, and he's done others as well, but those kind of stand out in my mind. And so I think he's sort of the perfect perfumer to realize this kind of very unique concept. So it's named Ganymede, which is a moon of Jupiter and actually the largest moon in the solar system. And if you read about it, Ganymede, it basically is composed of half rock and half water, and it has a iron-rich core. And then what's really interesting about the moon is that it's got an internal ocean. So what that means is basically, ocean not at the contained water not at the surface, but in the below layers. So basically, you've got a whole bunch of silicate rock. We're talking about the inside of the planet, as well as this liquid iron core, and then a layer of ocean as well. And so very, very, I think that just kind of is a good creative starting place for perfume and something very unique. And I love that. And I think the smell captures this. So we're expecting, kind of based on that description of the moon, we're expecting something mineralic or metallic. And in fact, if you watch other reviews of this fragrance, those are kind of the terms that you'll hear a lot from people. Describing it as metallic, and you can tell when you watch other reviews, it's really hard to describe this kind of scent, and I certainly couldn't get a sense of it from other reviews, so I'll do my best to kind of avoid abstract terms and tell you what this smells like. The main notes here that the company describes, among other notes, are immortelle flower, violet flower, there's suede leather, and mandarin orange, and a couple other notes as well. But these all kind of create a very mineral feel, supposedly, right? I'll tell you a little bit more about that. That's not sort of the first description I would turn to, but these are all notes that are not the most familiar to people. So let's talk about what it smells like, and I think it's so unique. Yeah. So what's very, very interesting about this is, even from the nozzle, you could smell it. It's a very surprisingly strong perfume. So, despite this feeling very crisp and bright, and in a sense, watery, it's very, very intoxicating. It has something intoxicating about it, despite its transparency. And I can tell you that just kind of, it doesn't die down at all. It actually, in fact, I think gets kind of stronger and cloudier, more intense as time goes on, at least, for the first hour or so. But basically, what you might notice at first is a very fruity essence. And I couldn't tell initially that it was just purely mandarin. It seems a bit more sweet, a bit more berry-like. So very, very, it's almost like a fruit cocktail because it has this kind of very fruity smell, but also very refreshing quality and very clear, as I said. And that's where I think the description and everything it kind of really fits. And then the other aspect that kind of comes, hits you right away is, so there's this fruity sweetness, but also bitterness that exists at the same time, and this really odd contrast. And the bitterness to me gives off the smell a bit like licorice. So it's a kind of, yeah, a bit earthy and a bit sweet, but a different kind of sweetness than the fruity sweetness, a licorice like sweetness, a bit bitter. And I could have sworn also that the first few times I smelled this, and I still get this accord, is I could have sworn that there was a very strong note of like tobacco or incense or a smoky note, and that I think is coming from the combination of the osmanthus as well as the immortelle flower. Immortelle, I've seen it used, I've smelled it in a couple fragrances, but it's not a note I'm super familiar with. But it's said that it can give off this kind of herbal kind of smoky smell. But I have heard other reviewers describe a kind of curry-like smell, which seems very, very kind of gross. I didn't get so much of that. I didn't get any reminder of curry, the smell of curry. But once I heard the description, and as I keep smelling it, I see what they're referring to. But it's definitely not like, it's the bitterness, but I would describe it more like a licorice smell than curry. But I do see where that's coming from, and that you might get that sort of sense a bit more than what I'm getting. But it's the fruitiness that kind of takes it away from that curry-like smell and makes it, more wearable. And it's a scent that is so kind of funky and weird, but at the same time is not hard to pull off because it's very transparent. There's enough of popular kind of fruity smell that makes this likable, but also kind of interesting twist as well, as we've described, is kind of smokiness. So the main things are, it's very tangy, and once you sort of learn of the orange note, the mandarin note, you might tell that it's a bit more of a mandarin note than any other fruit. And there's a little bit of sourness going on, and I don't think it's not just the citrus that's giving this sourness. It's a kind of a herbal, kind of floral sort of sourness that is infused with this kind of incense-like feel and smell. And what that ends up sort of creating for me overall is also a tea-like accord. It's sort of like a Chinese oolong tea, and of course, if I were to smell and taste oolong tea right now, I would probably say that it's quite different from this. But you will be reminded, I think you might be, of these kind of black teas, right? This because of this bitterness, there's some kind of it's very clean, right, and very sharp, crisp, right? The same way that tea, it's not a thick drink, right? It's just the smells really deepening the aroma of water essentially, and that's sort of what's created here. A really, the metallic feel of this fragrance, I would say. So at first it came across more like it's more the feel of the fragrance rather than the smell. So as I said, it's a very crisp feeling scent, and that it's kind of very hard to describe what that means in any other way. It's very not sharp like piercing kind of smell, but a crispness. It's sort of it's not one of those scents that has a lot of puffiness about it. It's just very, I'm looking for the word, discreet. There's no sort of smoothness that's like a creaminess or anything like that. It's very, very brilliant, but very you can almost feel the edges of the fragrance. That's where it sort of feels like a rock, right? It has all these, it's very sturdy and it's got all these edges. But I would say it's a very fruity smell. But I think another way to sort of interpret this smell is, yes, I do get sort of So I described a tea-like accord, but that can also smell a bit like tin, a bit like a tin metal kind of smell. And again, all of this, I get all of these smells more so than like a curry-like smell. So not so spicy, but there's a little bit of a spicy element. But really, like if you can imagine the smell of tin, not in a clean way, right? Because we're not talking about the smell of rust. That wouldn't be very pleasant, but it's sort of like tin that it's very shiny. And actually, better way to put it, if gold had a smell, this I would imagine something like this. So something metallic in that sense, where it does, yes, smell like a metal somehow. But because of the fruitiness, there's a lot of sweetness going on as well, and so it doesn't truly smell like a metal. You get that metal-like feel, that transparency, almost glass-like, and sharpness. Yeah, so I think the reason this fragrance is so amazing is it not only recreates, what it sort of seeks to portray through the smell. So the some sort of extraterrestrial body with that has water, but also a metallic core, and a lot of silicate rock. So this kind of earthy metallic smell that is transparent and at the same time, but it also evokes your imagination where you can kind of interpret this smell different ways. Metallic, or more fruity, cocktail like, or more like a tea scent. And if you put all those together, I think you might get a sense of what this smells like. So if you like any of those kinds of smells, like tea scents, or any the idea of a metallic scent, a tin-like bitter smell intrigues you, I think you will like this. Now, just on whether I think it's worth it. So I got here the 30 ml bottle, and I'm glad I did. For the 30 ml though, I do think it's overpriced, just because it's so expensive. 30 mls for like $115, whereas the 100 ml, it's more reasonable. You get 100 mls and you pay around $200. But the problem is that I think 100 mls of this fragrance is a bit unnecessary. For me at least, it hasn't really been an everyday kind of scent, just because, like I said, it has a kind of intoxicating quality. It's clean, but in the dry down, it turns into a more dry, more herbaceous kind of smell that's very full bodied at the same time. And so you really, really have to like that bitter, floral scent that's coming from osmanthus. Otherwise, you're not going to enjoy this scent. It's not as multifaceted as the opening, and not as balanced. It's more kind of one direction, but nevertheless, still a very, very good dry down. Doesn't work as an everyday scent. I think this is a fragrance more for experience. So it's nice to smell. If you're wanting to smell what can be done in perfumery, and also to smell something different, it's also nice, for reference. But that 30 ml should be plenty for that. I think if you have a collection, there will be other fragrances that are kind of more wearable and mass appealing. So it's kind of a catch-22, right? 100 mls you don't need to spend $200, and yet the 30 mls, it's overpriced if you're paying $115. So I don't know. That's just my feeling on this. It's up to you whether you think that is worth it. So I think if you can somehow experience this without buying it, I would do that definitely first, just because of this very unique scent profile. But again, if you're intrigued by the story, right, the concept of this fragrance, this does a really, really good job in capturing that. And that's very important, at least for me, when I'm looking for fragrances. I don't even know how much I'm going to wear it, but it makes me appreciate the scent. And so if you like that story of Jupiter's moon, one of Jupiter's moons, and this Ganymede in particular, then I think you will enjoy this fragrance for its artistic merits. So there you go, guys. I realized that I hadn't done a niche review in a while, so that's why I turned to this. It had caught some hype when it first came out. I do think it's a bit overhyped, but definitely give it a try, and I'll see you in the next review. Bye.